Can you explain to me what the process is right now?
Absolutely. So you're going to be booked just like last time. Go through the same process. It's going to be a little less time consuming because we're not going to do major case prints because we did those last time. Once you're booked and you go through this portion of it, we'll let you make a phone call just like last time. We'll make a phone call. Your parents will be able to bring you whatever other additional need, things that you need.
Yeah.
And then tomorrow morning, you'll go and be arraigned at Norfolk Superior Court on the charges that were. I'm sure you'll go over the charges again with you on the warrant.
But I'm on bail, so how can I be spending the night here again?
All right, so I'll explain that portion to you, as long as it's not going to interfere with you. Are you ready to go?
Yeah, I'm just waiting for Ramsey.
Okay. So initially, your arrest was on probable cause out of the district court. Okay. So the charges that you were arrested on initially were out of district court, out of Stoughton District. That's where the arraignment was. It was district level charges. Today, grand jury indicted you on these charges, which is second-degree murder, vehicular homicide, and leaving the scene of a death. Okay? So those are the charges that grand jury indicted you on. So now you're being charged and will be arraigned in Superior Court, Norfolk County Superior Court in Devon. Okay?
So the bail doesn't apply anymore?
Typically, I'm not, so we don't set the bail. But typically, once murder comes into play, people don't get bailed out.
So it's not manslaughter anymore, is that the difference?
That's correct. It's a higher degree of taking a life. Okay, so that's the charges that you're being charged with now. And you were indicted by grand jury.
Okay, you're aware he was beaten up by Brian McMafia Albert. I mean, we're all in on the same joke, right? My taillight is cracked and junk was pulverized.
Okay, you need to abide by the rights that were afforded to you. Okay, so you can talk if you want. If you want to tell us what happened, that's fine. We'll listen, but you were ready to do your rights, okay? And I'm sure he's going to do it again. All right. If you want to talk to us, you want to give us a story, definitely. We'll take it.
No, I don't. I mean, I know you already know the story, so I don't need to.
I don't know what to answer, not to answer, because I don't know. You could arrest me right now.
I don't know the law.
Okay.
Right.
No, fine. I'm interviewing you about your actions. I could arrest you if there's a crime and an arrestable offense. We play by the rules, and there's strict rules, policies, criminal procedure that we follow to the T. Okay. Just because you don't believe it doesn't mean that that's not fact.
Good afternoon, Sergeant Buchnick.
Good afternoon, sir.
I want to talk to you for a second about roles in this case, in this investigation. Would you agree with me that Michael Proctor was the lead investigator as well as the case agent in charge of this case?
He was assigned as the case officer for the case.
In that position, given the fact that it was his assignment, would you agree with me that he had a leadership role?
I wouldn't call it a leadership role. It's more of a facilitator, liaison between the DA's personnel within the office and the state police. He also helps facilitate any missions, outstanding tasks that need to be completed.
He obviously had a supervisor, correct?
He did, yes, that would be myself.
That would be you.
Yes.
Every case has some lead trooper in your unit, correct? Every case is assigned to someone to sort of be in charge and lead the charge of the investigation. Is that right?
Every case has a case officer that manages the investigation.
Right. And managing the investigation doesn't mean just, sort of typing up schedules. It means actually managing the investigation, like deciding what search warrants are going to be written in certain circumstances. That's one example, correct?
They're responsible for writing and authoring those search warrants. Sometimes the recommendation, suggestion, or leadership comes from the supervisors or the DA staff where their experience might dictate otherwise.
And sometimes it comes from the lead case agent himself or her. You talked about following the evidence. You want to make sure that that evidence is gathered in a way that is adequate, in a way that is objective, that in a way that is unbiased, so that you can gather the evidence that will lead you to the right folks, right? To the right suspects.
We always want to gather as much evidence as possible. We conduct that gathering in the most appropriate ways possible. Sometimes there are tough decisions that have to be made where we have to either decide whether we're collecting evidence A or evidence B, and those decisions have to be made on the spot. At times it's a time-sensitive matter. At times it's a decision made by a group putting their heads together and deciding on that.
As a supervisor, supervising your subordinates, you want to make sure that the evidence is gathered in an appropriate way, in an objective way, correct? Yes or no?
Yes. If there was a question of integrity, those individuals would not be part of an investigation. This is a very serious line of work. A lot depends on it. We speak for those that can no longer speak for themselves. So we do our best to conduct every investigation with integrity, honor, and get to the truth.
And you have supervisors to whom you report, correct?
Yes, it's a paramilitary structure, and it is in order for the colonel to keep command and control over the entire agency of 2,000 plus people, it is absolutely necessary for there be a reporting up and down within the ranks of the Massachusetts State Police.
What's your chain of command? Who did you report to back in 2022?
I directly reported to Detective Lieutenant Tully.
Former Trooper Michael Proctor was the person who was the assigned case agent, the lead case agent in this particular investigation, correct?
Michael Proctor was the case officer for this investigation.
He was assigned, ultimately, to use another phrase, as the lead investigator, wasn't he?
I'm not going to agree with you.
He was assigned by the Massachusetts State Police as the case officer for this case, correct?
No. The investigation was done with honor, integrity, and all the evidence pointed in one direction only.
Brennan went on to say in part, quote, after an independent and thorough review of all of the evidence, I concluded that the evidence led to one person and one person only. Neither the closed federal investigation nor my independent review led me to identify any other possible suspect or person responsible for the death of John O'Keefe.
Honor and integrity by Michael Proctor?
Was that a question? I'm sorry.
Sure is. Everything I say is a question. Honor and integrity by Michael Proctor, Sergeant? Okay.
Sustain to the comment. Go ahead and ask it again, Mr.
I'll ask it
President.
again. You said honor and integrity. Honor and integrity by Michael Proctor? Objection.
I'll allow it.
The investigation was conducted with honor and integrity, and all the evidence pointed in one direction and one direction only.
So, Sergeant Buchanan, you don't want to answer my question, correct?
I will answer your question, absolutely.
Do you think this case was handled with honor and integrity by Michael Proctor, Sergeant?
The investigation was handled with integrity by Michael Proctor.
Do you see a search warrant? This deals with Google and some geofence data, correct?
Yes, it is.
Who's the affiant?
This isn't an actual search warrant, but it seems like at the bottom it says Trooper Michael Proctor.
Does that appear to be a report authored by Nicholas Garino?
It does.
Does that deal with John O'Keefe's cell phone?
It's a report written by Nicholas Garino referencing Mr. O'Keefe's cell phone, yes.
Do you see reference to Karen Reed's cell phone having been seized?
Yes.
And that was seized by Trooper Proctor also, correct?
Yeah, him and I were there together.
Early spring 2022, there was a CPD video requested by somebody, correct?
Yes.
And you went and actually, in this instance, you actually went and got the video and delivered it to him, correct? At his request.
Yes.
Because as the case officer, he's entitled to ask for things, have them delivered, correct?
Anybody's entitled to ask for things, absolutely. We are pursuing justice. We're looking for any and all possible evidence.
I'm sure you are. As the case officer, he's entitled to ask for things to be delivered to him.
Yes, yes.
Even by his supervisor.
Yes, absolutely.
Same report, different sentence, talking about a July 2023 CPD or Canton Police Department video that was also requested, correct?
Yes.
Who was that requested by?
Trooper Proctor.
And who delivered it to Trooper Proctor?
I did.
Do you see a document referencing the analysis of Canton Town library videos?
I do.
And who is it that's listed as having received and reviewed and analyzed the town library videos?
It was Trooper Proctor.
Talking about the first three interviews that you did, the first three civilian interviews you did that morning. Still on the same thing. You mentioned
Right.
talking to three people at a residence in Canton. Brian Albert, Jim McCabe, Matt McCabe.
Mm-hmm.
All three were at 34 Fairview when they indicated John O'Keefe arrived in an SUV. They all told you that, right?
They were inside the home when the defendant and Mr. O'Keefe arrived in the SUV.
These are the very people that would have a motive to lie if they were somehow involved, right?
Can you answer that, Sergeant?
No, Your Honor.
You're a professional investigator, correct?
That's correct.
Homicide investigator, right?
That's correct.
Suspects ever lied to you?
Yes.
Suspects lie to you all the time, don't they?
All the time is not accurate. They lie about certain things to create an alibi for themselves and state contradicting facts or fabricated stories.
And if someone
all the
has
time would mean that they're constantly lying about everything.
if these three individuals were involved in the death of John O'Keefe or knew others who were involved in the death of John O'Keefe, who they were close to, they would have a motive to lie about that, correct?
Objection.
As a matter of fact, when you went to interview Jennifer McCabe at her home, Brian Albert happened to be there, correct?
He was there, and I was able to conduct the interview at the house with Brian Albert, yes.
Did you find that odd?
Absolutely not.
Totally normal for you to conduct a formal interview in a homicide case and have an extra person show up at the house just to be there?
Absolutely. Cooperating witnesses always try and be assisting, so cooperating witnesses would assist us.
You just use the word always. You don't know what all the time means. But they always try to be assistant.
Well, they're cooperating. It's in the nature.
They always try to help you out.
Okay, maybe I misspoke. They are cooperating witnesses. So always is such a finite, definitive statement. I apologize for using it.
And if an investigator were keeping an open mind, right, open to all possibilities at the beginning of the investigation, someone that you now are calling a cooperating witness might well be a suspect who's lying, correct?
Yes, yes.
That's a possibility.
That is a possibility, yes.
This case will likely go down as the state's most expensive drunk driving conviction.
It really is a stunning statement. With the conclusion of the second trial, some of the costs to taxpayers are starting to come into sharper focus.
When it comes to public money, it's safe to say the #1 difference in this trial will be Special Prosecutor Hank Brennan. As we told you months ago when the DA's office hired him for the case, he's charging taxpayers a rate of $250 per hour. Now that the trial has ended, we are getting an idea of the total price tag. State payroll records show Brennan has collected more than $250,000 so far. However, it's important to point out that his most recent invoice is for work completed through January, according to documents we obtained. That means taxpayers are still on the hook for everything he's done since February, including the entire trial. A conservative estimate brings his pay up to $400,000. And for comparison, Adam Lally, who prosecuted the first trial, has a salary of $149,000. Meantime, his boss, DA Michael Morrissey, is the highest paid person in the office at $223,000. But our chief legal analyst, Michael Coyne, told me he expects Brennan's pay to be even higher because it's not uncommon for attorneys to work 16-hour days during a trial. Coyne says his estimate for the special prosecution surpasses $500,000.
Then he goes on to say, and only one person. Oh, yeah, only one person, right? Because there's nobody else that could have hit him in the back of the head or could have shoved him or punched him in the face, right? You admitted that you don't even know how he would have fallen backwards or where he fell backwards. You have no theory to go on. You're just guessing. A prosecutor that guesses and then blocks all this information and tries to ridicule and harass the defense witnesses, the honorable defense witnesses that they had were experts. You can't win a case this way. So he had no shot. This is just a parting shot at the jury, basically, is what he's doing.
Unlike the first two jurors that we've heard from who rendered their verdict of not guilty for Karen Read, this one, juror number 12, says during those 20 hours of deliberations, she changed her mind.
I felt like if they didn't pick me, they'd be fools because I didn't know anything about this case.
Personal trainer Janet Jimenez says before this second trial of Karen Read, one of her clients had mentioned the case, but she says other than that, she'd never heard of it. When she was picked to be juror number 12, she suddenly had a front row seat.
I couldn't help but see her because I was right. I mean, I think I had the best view in the house. She was right there. The defense was right there.
Did you form any impressions of her?
No, like I said, I knew nothing about her.
Jimenez says she filled a notebook and a half as she listened to witnesses and studied evidence over 8 weeks. She says when it came time for deliberations, she was open to listening to what the other 11 jurors had to say.
I was hoping that my fellow jurors could help me to go through all of this. So I went in with a very open mind, but definitely leaning toward that she was guilty.
Jimenez says what changed her mind is when she went looking for something in the more than 200 pieces of evidence. She won't say what that something was, but says she didn't find it.
And it was one big part that led me closer to there's a lot of doubt here.
Jimenez says there were holes in the investigation, but she stopped short of saying she believes someone else killed John O'Keefe or that there was a police cover-up.
I'm not there to say the defense's story was right or wrong. Do you know what I'm saying? Because there could have been other circumstances that happened. So I think there was things that we saw, things that we heard, the evidence that could have fit that scenario. So again, that's the whole doubt thing.